Hello, hello. This is your next bite-sized episode of the Crypto Valley Association podcast. I am your host, Sheraz Ahmed, and let's discover together the growing trends of this fast-moving space and try to shed some light on the mysteries it contains. So we are joined today by Maksim Balashevich, founder and CEO of Santiment.net, the behavior analytics platform for cryptocurrencies. They source on-chain, social, and development information on over 1,000 coins to help you analyze the crypto market and find data-driven investment opportunities. So let's dive straight into the hidden world of behavioral finance. Maksim, it's great to have you here. How is everything?
Hey. Thanks, Sheraz, for inviting. Nice to be here. Happy to share the next 20 to half an hour. And let's see what questions have you prepared.
Awesome. Well, then maybe let's start by letting our audience know what first got you involved within the blockchain space.
For me, a very strong motivation or kickoff was possibly my spiritual background of the past. I've spent quite a long time, around 7 years in yoga and meditation field. And before that, I was software developer. And once I was coming back to normal life, I was checking around where could I apply something for social impact and change. And then blockchain came. And I was like, wow, this is really a way where we could do collaboration, value creation, sharing, or fair competition, transparent competition on the next level. Similar to what I did in the past in my yoga life when we shared together and worked together. And now I saw, wow, you can create really very valuable or things of high value and push me on the way. So that was how I got introduced. And especially in the moment I discovered crypto, it was a time of rising star of Ethereum, where there were many promises. We could do smart money or smart contracts and we can build everything. Of course, we cannot build now. We know we can build everything. But on our platform, we found quite a few things we can build together as a collaborative platform. So this is where journey started and still on the way.
Wow, I think it's the first one that I've heard so far, from yoga to crypto. So I'm very interested to find out more about it. So you're the founder and CEO of Santiment. So maybe you can tell us more about Santiment and their role within this growing industry.
Yeah, the role I would start describing from the challenges or problems we're facing in the crypto space. First, it's a very fast development space. We always need to catch up or realize what's going on. Things sometimes developing so fast. And if we want to understand it from the point of data, the sources of data are new. Like on-chain doesn't exist for classic finances. Social data does exist, but not in such impactful or important way as it does for crypto assets. Developer activity or traction of the open GitHub repositories. I don't think many people care for Amazon or Tesla or most of the stocks or companies. In the crypto, it's very relevant for every single project. So new sources of information, how do they interact with each other? How you build metrics on top of it? How you create a framework where you can flow in these new data sources and new metrics on top of it to make some conclusive decisions. So it's overwhelming. And the problem existed in 2017 when we started. We solved it to some degree, or we hope we solve it. Going on our platform now in a meaningful way, but still there are so many things to do. So we solve this problem. You want to understand more about Bitcoin, Ethereum, or IFI, DeFi, anything based on the data, you are facing big challenges. It's not so simple to do. So we're trying to make it simple and accessible for many people.
Understood. And for I understand, you're guided by a single mission, right? So to eliminate information asymmetry in the crypto ecosystem. So I'm quite excited to hear how you plan to enable this. Maybe you can tell us more about the products and services that you offer.
Information asymmetry. It's actually a very nice point you're coming from. It does exist, and to some degree it will ever exist, because to remove information asymmetry, it has to be a lot of effort from the point of consumers. And we see that consumer behavior does not change much. We still have 80% of participants in crypto market who are willingly following all this not so high quality advices or sharing or shill posts. Humans stay humans. If you need to make an effort, you need to make an effort. So, but at least we remove the barrier. You need a lot of money to build all this data infrastructure because it is expensive. all our data pipelines, crunching machines. It's an expensive cluster of big data. So this is removed. We enable access to it on a much cheaper level. As a user, you only need to bring an effort. Then the information asymmetry can be removed from your field. A little bit effort, then find us, or there are some other good providers, and you can be on a good level of what's going on right now or what happened recently. And we will keep working on including new data sources or reducing latency so that the access to information is even lower. So we'll contribute on our part to remove information asymmetry. But as I say, there will always need to be an effort from user side to be willing to be on top of what's going on.
Okay, and so what do you offer these consumers if they're willing to help from this perspective? Do you offer them anything to be able to guide them in the right direction?
Yes. We do have actually rapidly growing user base. It's like thousands of users on our platform right now, many of them paying customers. And it has changed. We did have users on platform since, I think, day one, but it's really started to grow very fast somewhere in May, maybe after the crash. Maybe people decided, okay, now it's time. So relatively since May, June, our numbers are growing very fast. So, and what we give them, and as they keep come, they start paying and they don't leave. I mean, some part living, but most of people are staying. I believe what they're giving them satisfied, but they also constantly ask questions to add something. It's major, like two things from what I know. We give them a very good coverage of on-chain data, where the network activity can be tracked and understood. And we give them very good, and actually from what I know, quite unique set of social data. Unique in the sense of quality, it's very quite clean one. Okay. And where they can combine on our platform into one. So they see what's happening on on-chain data. Is the network still growing? Is it still active? Is transaction volume is increasing or stalling? And they can compare it to how is a social wipe around the project is. And then on top of it, once they understand these basic things, they can dive deeper and say, okay, what are doing the top token holders also based on on-chain data? Are they still accumulating or are they moving out of the project? So you can understand literally this is where information asymmetry started to disappear, because you see what normally you don't see. What are the key stakeholders doing with the projects? Yeah? And you can act accordingly. Yeah, it's not that there is a hype, there is a shill, and there are news good coming in, but at the same time, you don't know that big holders are dumping, and they're dumping on you. Now you see it on the data. We show how the big stakeholders holdings decreasing, and we show you if they flow into exchanges or other way. Yeah, this is where enlightenment is coming.
It's where transparency really helps.
Yes, exactly. As a matter of fact, we started with 2016 Project Transparency, where we ask projects, could you provide information on your key stakeholders or what are you doing with your funds? Yeah? We put a lot of effort, I think 3 or 4 months, and there was quite some hype around Project Transparency, but then we realized only 10 or 15% of projects are willing to share it. The others, they don't answer, they don't hide because they have something to hide. We say, okay, we'll do other way around. We just find a way to get this data, and it will be anyway transparent on the level of data. You will not hide it from us. Or there is no way you can hide from community. We still stick to our transparency above all, but we do it with the means of data now.
Yes, there's no way of hiding from the all-seeing eye of blockchain, right? Everything is recorded, everything is visible.
Yeah, kind of.
And so maybe if we continue on the tangent of social media, what do you believe the relevance of social media is, maybe especially Twitter, within the cryptocurrency markets?
Very good question. For me, as behavior analytic, I always use it as a contraindicator. I use it to see, do we have some kind of crowd consensus or anything? Or is there any crypto stars, saying something very strong confidence? I don't know, like CZ from Binance says, this is the last time you see Bitcoin below 8, I say, okay, not time to buy yet, it will go lower. And because you know his motivation, you know that from behavior point of view, anyone with a big following, big people listening to, he is not forced to share insights, because insights are actually against the crowd. He is shared to satisfy the emotion of the crowd. And this is how he has to act. regardless if he understands it or not. This is the way how the things are working. So we listen to these big stars and say what they're saying. And if there is consensus between them, like, I don't know, now finally Bitcoin 20,000 or 100,000, or now there will be another crash and everyone agrees or not. For me as a behavior analytic, it's a clear investment signal. So it's one part, how I personally use it. Now on our platform, of course, we collect all the social data and we break it into the packages and we assign it to specific projects. All this messages go to Bitcoin, this to Ethereum, and then we run algorithm on top of it, and we measure kind of sentiment or social volume, also like both social volume and sentiment on specific coins. Yeah? And this is we use for our platform, so you just know. And on top of it, we built a social dominance metric. So you know every single moment you want to know what the most hyped or discussed topic. You come to the platform and you see the dominance, what people are talking about. It is relevant social data, as you probably know. Well, if you're 1 year in crypto, you will notice it. This is probably one of the most relevant sources of information because it's easier than on-chain data to understand, to grasp, to start using it for your decisions. On-chain data, it's much more powerful, but it's a steep learning curve how to use it. Social data is relatively straightforward. You just need to get rid of a few rational assumptions and you can use it. As I always say, embrace the irrationality of the crowd and you will be doing well. You just don't get insane because really sometimes it's too irrationality. It can be very challenging. Yeah, and it can stay longer time. Yeah. So I use for myself, and we use it on a platform to source like 1/3 of what we have on data feeds on the metrics on our platform, or maybe 25%.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
This is quite significant, right? And I think you see a lot of indicators in crypto, right? Where people say to sell when the market is greedy and to buy when they're fearful. So
this is the point. But it's not so easy to find out, okay, when the market is greedy and when the market is fearful, because in every cycle, the definition or the way how it looks like, the way people talk about when they're getting greedy and fearful, it's different. So whatever you learned in the past cycle doesn't apply to the current one. So this is the challenging part, but it's good. It means you're always in advantage. If you know the main principles, you can apply them. But yeah, and just to add, it's not only Twitter. Twitter is important, or let's say it's very open. We source from more than 1,000 Telegram channels, actually all relevant to crypto Telegram channels. And it's a little bit different language. The messages are shorter, more intensive, more emotionally driven. But this is as valuable as Twitter, in my opinion.
Okay.
So this is like two big data sources.
Okay, interesting. And so you probably hear this quite a lot, but what about a market manipulation, right? Where we have the bigger famous influencers around the globe, like you have the Elon Musk, right? If he says something about the Tesla stock, he got into trouble with the SEC. And in the crypto world, we're quite familiar with these kind of classic pump and dump schemes. And well, my question for you is, can sentiment in the market be biased?
Yes, it can. You cannot anymore influence market sentiment on Bitcoin and Ethereum. They're too liquid, too big. There is always like different opinions. So you cannot shift market opinion or emotion to one degree. It happens by itself on extremes, on the bottoms and the tops, but no one can enforce and make it happen that everyone is positive, negative. Now for smaller coins, for emerging stars, this is where someone with social engineering knowledge can leverage his skills, in an evil way. And people are doing it because incentive is there. You can earn millions or 100,000 by investing just 10 or 15,000. So definitely risk reward is there. And I've seen many examples, all of us seen many examples how it's been manipulated. McAfee is one example, but there are others. For smaller coins, you always see similar cycle. There is, of course, innovation or a very dedicated dev community, and there are early adopters, but then at some point of time, quite often, there are some interesting players coming too. And they start shilling around because they bought a big portion and they will just pump it on social channels to sell it and a good profit and they leave. Not necessarily bad for the project because it gets attention, but people will suffer who bought on the top. But for smaller projects, it's possible to manipulate. For bigger one, now it happens by itself, I would say naturally. It just shifts sentiment from one extreme to another. For small one, can be social engineered.
Interesting. So then education must be quite important, right? When it comes to
by all means. You know, on our part, we do education in a way that we see some extremes in positive and too much good news. We have a section for our paid users called Sun Pro Insights, where we issue warning signal. Guys, it looks like a top, which we've seen many times before. Too many good news, too many shields, and look at this matrix. Yeah. So we do what we can do on our side. And definitely in the education course, which we're designing now, we will mention and talk about. But once again, it just feels like a drop in an ocean. But I know, like from yoga, it's always like you do small effort, but constantly, and things there are good results anyway. So you do whatever you can do.
For sure. And you said that there is a Santiment Academy, right? That you're bringing out to support in the education of these different metrics.
Right. We do have already on our webpage, if you see on app.sentiment.net top right, there is Academy where we freely described all our metrics we're using, and you can understand how we build them technically, what they represent, what is latency, and everything related to technical. And even we list use cases, how you can apply them in your daily or weekly life. But it's a big pool information. What we do now is on top of it, like 4 weeks intensive course where we say, okay, now we make a story where you start your journey, regardless if you're experienced investor or not, if you're just newcomer. Why we build these metrics, what are the market cycles, how they reflect it, and how you can use what we have, what are limitations, and what are the next is coming. So it's a more concise story coming on top of our academy. Yeah.
Okay, well, that's great to know. And so coming down to that, where do you see the future of sentiment trading in the blockchain space? How do you see this whole sector developing in terms of sentiment trading, where we see it's quite unregulated in a way where there are, in the traditional sense, there are players that can't just say everything. And then there are those in the crypto space, for example, like the CEO of BitMEX, CEO of Binance, they can say things and there are no repercussions, right? Do you see this changing? Where do you see the future of trading?
Okay. It's a sequence of thoughts, and at the end I will answer the question. As long as we have volatility, meaning high risk combined with high reward, as long as we have ever new emerging opportunities, nothing will change, because you cannot regulate in a way as long as opportunities are there. So if opportunities are removed to completely regulated market, it means, regulators will say they take care of risk, but they also remove opportunities the same way. Okay, then there will be no incentivization for people to go so long distance and saying things which they're saying now. They're doing it, all of people you mentioned, to establish stronger position of their company, BitMEX or Binance or Coinbase or whatever you call it, or to make direct profit by their sayings. Yeah. Not the people you mentioned, there are others. Yeah. I don't think that Assis is saying what he's saying for making profit. No, he is just taking care of his company. So as long as the whole environment working as it's working now, high volatile, a lot of opportunities, a lot of rewards for your efforts, it will stay. No one will be able to do anything with it. But what we can do, and I hope we're not the only ones, is there are enough analytic companies who know how things are working and who are able to call out the bullshit when it comes to this point.
Yes. Okay. Well,
and it's happening. I'm happy to see things are happening. And not only us, I see quite some other people also doing very good analysis and calling out things when it's time. It's good.
It's great to hear that we're moving forward and in the right direction. So, well, thank you, Maksim, for those valuable insights. Do you have anything else that you'd like to share with our audience?
Yeah, maybe my personal opinion, or my personal attitude to investment, crypto space. I believe the best effort is you invested into the projects where you participate in. Honestly, my best investment was Ethereum. I loved what I saw, and I put literally half of all money I had there, and it paid out very nicely. And not only I paid my money, but I started to build a platform, and I participated in all these DevCons. I even had a lucky time to meet Vitalik directly. We went to dinner in Shanghai in DevCon 2. So it pays back. you just stick to what you love, what your heart leads you, what your heart as developer or, I don't know, or economist or whatever your profession. But if you follow your heart and you stick to it and you put your money into what you believe, it will pay back the best. Now, there is always on top of it knowledge. Price never goes up indefinitely. It will correct. There are cycles of innovation in every 2 or 3 years in crypto. There are cycles of innovation. So there is nothing bad with taking profit. Yeah, you don't get too greedy or don't get too confident. It's okay, because if you want to stick into crypto for a long time to bring innovation to the end, you will need a monetary base to be able to do it freely. Don't depend on anyone else. Yeah. So sum up 1, 2, or 3 projects you really love what they're doing. This is the best way how you invest it, and don't be shy to take profit when you believe, okay, it's overhyped. I don't think it's healthy anymore. Yeah, you will do yourself good, and someone has to sell, because if we're still having the super volatile market, it's just people are not selling for too long time.
No, very true. Maybe one last one. You spoke a little bit about cycles. Where do you see us currently in the cycle?
I will tell about cycle from inside Ethereum, and maybe then a little bit about cycle outside of Ethereum. We are about to finish DeFi cycle in Ethereum with all these decentralized finance applications. We're seeing already a bit too extreme experiments leading to some, I don't know how to call it, not scams, Ponzi, not Ponzi, but something which shows you, okay, we are close to the end. Yeah, innovation kind of finished, it's just going to extreme now. And at the same time, we're seeing growing, or maybe it's not so visible, but there is a growing interest in innovation space with DAOs, where people get together, they build something and share value. It's part of DeFi space, but I think it will go way beyond DeFi. So, and this cycle will continue. I don't think we're finished yet with a growing Ethereum capitalization. So it's an expansion mode. So it's growing mode now.
Okay.
And parallel, outside of Ethereum, there is, of course, a big topic of interoperability. Polkadot, Cosmos, all things, how you can combine different chains. Yeah, this is an open question. If any of them, or if Ethereum will deliver at some point of time, Ethereum 2.0, which we're waiting for so long time, where the problems will be solved and it will work inside Ethereum, open question. And this is the next big cycle. How can we scale and communicate values between different blockchains? So this cycle is now. Well, I hope we will find an answers in the next 2 years, 2 to 3 years, and of course then we'll correct again. But at the moment it's expansion mode of building decentralized healthy debt system, which is mostly done on Ethereum, but can go a little bit more extreme.
Okay.
And interoperability, which should solve scalability and connection between different blockchains. Because inside every blockchain, there is a value. So how can we exchange it?
Yes, I see. Wow. Okay. Well, positivity all around, or maybe as you've heard today, we need to keep negativity to keep the positivity up. Yeah. So great. Well, thank you. If you enjoyed this conversation, feel free to check out more on our website, cryptovalley.swiss, where we host plenty of events, educational content, and even provide information on how you can join our growing community. Well, thanks again, Maksim, for joining us. Stay tuned, stay safe, and until next time from the Crypto Valley in Switzerland. Bye-bye.
Yeah, thank you. Bye-bye.